Hello, I am Katie Litchfield and I am the founder of WeQual. Long story short about me, I was at the Financial Times for 18 years. Over the last decade, I created forums for mainly FTSE companies for chairman, CEO, HR and women. When I left 2.5 years ago, I'm a big believer, follow your passion and the rest will fall into place. In the UK, the government do a report every year where they have to name how many women they have at what level throughout all of the FTSE companies. And I looked at that data and I realized that there was just under 5,000 women who were currently reporting into the executive committees. This didn't make any sense to me. To have just under 5,000 women, yet hardly any women on the executive committees. And if I have one more CEO ask me, Katie, can you find me a woman? And then I'll create a job for her. This isn't rocket science. The women are out there, you are out there, and this is why I've created WeQual. And my aim is to find women around the world like you and to give them the platform to absolutely excel and to go for those top roles.
Hello, I'm Mark Bateman and I'm the CEO of WeQual Consulting. Katie and I work very, very closely together. We're absolutely aligned on our mission, which is to help more of you women to reach the top table. I passionately believe that the world will be a better place with more women at the top. And that's certainly my experience of having now personally coached well over 150 senior women over the last 12 months. I've been incredibly humbled by the fact that so many women want to make a positive difference in the world. And that is why I absolutely believe that if we have 50% gender split at the top table, our businesses will be better, they will better serve our communities, and the world will be a better place for it. So what is it that I do? Well, I head up the side of the business which is responsible for helping those women that go through our process to get to where they want to get to. Whether it's promotion, whether it's to become a CEO, to get onto the executive suite, maybe to run a foundation, maybe to do something completely different. And then secondly, I work with corporates, with the big organizations that are trying to fix both their gender, but also their wider diversity and inclusion challenges. So really looking forward to meeting you as we go through this process.
So WeQual is open to only women, and you must be one level below the group level executive committee. Now, that means that you can either have your line manager who is on the executive committee, or if you are having one-to-one meetings, delivering information to an executive committee member regularly, then you can also apply. Your company has to be listed on a stock exchange on the region of where the awards are. And we cover the Americas, EMEA, including the FTSE, and also APAC, Asia Pacific. A lot of the women ask, what happens about my company? How involved are they? So when I started WeQual, I wanted to make sure that it was the actual woman who applied. So even though your company can nominate you, actually they only speak to you and say, we think that you should enter. When you register online and then fill out the application, you are the only person that we deal with. So even if your company gets in contact with me and says, how did she do? I don't give them any answers. It's strictly confidential between you and me, basically. However, when you do become a finalist, this is something that we do want to really shout about. And this is where I get in touch with your company, with your permission, to your CEO, to your comms people, but you always give me the permission to write to the right person. So you remain in control the whole time. I researched quite a bit when I did WeQual, and I couldn't quite believe that there were so many awards out there that charged. And I didn't want to put an extra barrier in for women to apply. So there is absolutely no cost for you to apply to WeQual. I understand that when you are looking at these questions, you may be thinking these are quite personal. So just to put your mind at rest, When they are assessed, they're assessed blind. So that means no name or company is shown. And even if you write your company in your answers, we strip it out. The only other person that will see your answers will be if you get into the final and you are interviewed by one of our CEO judges. But please note that they are told that it is strictly confidential, these answers. And you've just got to remember that don't share anything that you're not comfortable with. We're not looking to find your deepest secrets. We are just looking for great leaders. When you enter, you have to fill out these 8 questions. Each question has 5 points. The assessors mark the questions, point them up, and then the top 24 highest scores go through to become WeQuals, which are the finalists. There's 8 categories in total, which means that there's 3 people per category. Once you become a finalist, you'll then be given an interview with one CEO who looks after that category. The CEO then decides who the winner is for that category, and they are the only ones that get to see the questions and answers.
Maybe after you've gone through this process, you may not want to speak to me. I'm the one who actually wrote and designed the questions, and they've been written to really cause you to think and reflect deeply. I do promise you, as I say, that it's going to be worth your time based on all the feedback that we've had. But I'd just like to give some guidance in terms of how to answer the questions. So there's 8 questions, and the very first question is this. Provide an example of your leadership approach when deciding priorities and setting direction in the face of competing demands. Now, if you've already looked through the questions, you'll see that they're going to take some time for you to answer. And I just want to give you some very specific guidance. So for each of the 8 questions, we have, imagine there's 10 points that you can score against each question. And what we do is when we take your answers, we strip out all personal information. So anything that relates to your company name, your name, we strip all of that out, and then we just purely look at your answer. Now, this is where the guidance notes underneath each question are really important. So again, for question 1, if we look at the guidance notes, the very first point is briefly describe your context and the competing demands. Now, it's very easy for you when you come to answer this question to try and illustrate just how complex the environment is that you're operating in. But you only have 250 words. So we don't need to know all of the detail. All we need is a brief context, right? We read many answers, hundreds upon hundreds of answers. So we don't need to know the detail. We just need to understand the context. So briefly describe the context and the competing demands. That's the first one. And what I recommend you do is for each of these points within the guidance notes, you create a bullet point, and then you make sure you've answered each bullet point. The second bullet point would be, what was important to you in your decision making? So we want to know the kinds of things that you were thinking about, that you were weighing up, that you were considering as you decided how to do the thing that you wanted to do. Then the third one would be, how did it relate to the wider vision and strategic objectives of your company? So you need to write to that. Then, how did your leadership characteristics help you achieve success? So again, what is it about your style, your leadership style? And we want to hear about you. We don't want to hear about your company's leadership style. We don't need to hear about your CEO or anybody else's. This is about you. It's your opportunity to shine. Now, you may well come from a culture where it's quite unusual to talk about yourself and to use the I, and it's about what we did, and it's about what we did as a team. But what we're really interested in is, how did you lead that team? How did you guide the team to make a decision? Did you how did you address the specific priorities that you needed to address? We want to hear you. What is it that you did? And then finally, you'll notice in brackets, it says, we want to know how did your leadership characteristics help you achieve success, in brackets, within your business unit, company, and or sector. Now, this is where we get a feeling for the impact of your decision making and your leadership style. So if it changed something within your team, we want to know, well, what was the impact within your team? Did it change some percentage? Did it cause performance to improve? And if so, how? Can you validate that? Can you give us some specific numbers? If it's in context to your business unit and your company, did it, add 3% to the bottom line? Did it increase market share by 10%? Did it cut costs by whatever it is, 3 billion euros, whatever the numbers are? So be specific. And very often when we do an initial assessment of how people are answering questions, they always miss off this last bit. We want to hear very clearly, what is the impact that you've made beyond, well, we reorganized the company and now everything's going well. That doesn't tell us a lot. We reorganized the business and we've increased market share by 6%. We now retain 20% more of our key talent pool. We've driven innovation by doing X, Y, and Z, and it's resulted in this. We want to hear those very specific examples. So don't be backwards in being really clear, and do that for every single question. All right. So make sure you've answered every single note, and that will help you get far.
It's up to you. If you feel that you want to get more exposure, get more confidence, and really have the drive, want to make a difference, to have a purpose in this world, and to do that is to be around the top table, then this is the platform for you. My aim is to find you, to help promote you to get to that top role.
One of my experiences, in fact, our experience as a company and working with senior women, is that very often women, especially if you start to compare them to men, and this is a generalization, so it may not be true for you, but women are a little bit less likely to speak about themselves, to talk about all the amazing things that they've done inside an organization. Whereas maybe men that look a little bit like me, we tend to speak about what we've done, and maybe a little bit more comfortable saying, look, this is the change that I made inside the business. I transformed our strategy. I drove these results. I want to encourage you, as part of this process, to own some of your own successes. You have been instrumental inside your businesses, maybe in ways that you're not even aware of because you've not allowed yourself to think about it. Going through this process is really going to help you reflect quite deeply on your leadership journey to date. And every single woman who's gone through this process has been very clear about the very powerful impact it has had upon them, just to think back over their career to date and the changes that they've gone through and how they've grown and developed and the place that they now find themselves within the organization. So even if you don't think you're going to win, which most people who enter don't, apply anyway, because I guarantee you from all the feedback that we've had that you'll find it a very powerful personal experience.
Well, one thing I should say is that WeQuals tell me this is a love-hate relationship, okay? You are going to hate having to find the time in already your busy schedules to, take 4 to 5 hours out to complete these questions. The love bit is that they tell me they really enjoy taking the time out to reflect over their whole career and actually see how far they have come. So yeah, I would say at least 4 to 5 hours, but I would break that up. And just remember, we're not going to mark you down on your grammar if English isn't your first language. And just take your time and remember to have a look at the little questions that come with the guidance questions, because each one of those kind of has a point. So you've only got 250 words per answer, which isn't a lot. I think a lot of the WeQuals kind of think they need to set the scene. You don't. We just need to know what you've done, how you've done it, and what was the impact, and who did you have the impact on, and just really be your authentic self.
It's worth you investing your time, and that the time that you invest is going to be worthwhile, regardless as to whether you get through to the finals or not. And we want to stress that. We speak to so many women who went through this process, who didn't get through to the finals, but are extremely appreciative that they took the time out to do it. So in terms of how much time might it take you, so you need to allow a minimum of 4 hours. Now, I went through this process and I'm the one who wrote the questions. And there were two questions in particular that I got stumped on myself. One was question 5: describe an instance where your integrity was challenged. And I needed to sleep on it for a couple of nights before I felt that I had the right answer to that question. And there was another question as well. So you will find as you go through this process, as we've said, it's a deeply reflective process. And so you might write some, and then you'll think about it, and maybe the next weekend you'll come back to it and you go, actually, do you know what? I've got a more powerful example that I can use. So although it took me 4 hours, it's probably going to take you 8 hours. Now, I don't want to put you off, right? I really want to encourage you to do this, but I want to really stress that it's going to be a powerful reflective process for you personally, but equally the more time you put in, the greater chance you have of getting through to the final, which can be life-changing for you. So allow the time to do this, and the more time you allow, the better you will feel once you submit your answers.
So, what are the benefits of becoming a WeQual? And just so you're clear, that once you become a finalist, you become a WeQual. So, the benefits are, if you can imagine that I didn't want to build another women's community, I didn't want to build another women's network. It can be sometimes very lonely for a woman at the top. And I wanted to bring together women who were very like minded, who were from around the world, from all different types of companies, all different types of roles, but they come together and they back each other. So, what I've done is I've created a WhatsApp group, and they are hugely supportive of each other. So, this is one of the benefits, that you do have access to that group with all the other WeQuals, and there's 120 of them now. The other benefits is that, as I mentioned, we have the consulting side, and probably the three main things that I'm asked for from WeQuals are: I want to be a non-exec director, therefore, can you help me with my CV, my resume, my LinkedIn profile? Can I have more exposure? That's why I created the WeQual Speaker Bureau, the WeQual magazine. And then the executive coaching side of things, I felt it was so important that actually it wasn't good enough that I just found the women. So many of the women wanted to be coached because they couldn't really see how great they were. Even when I had a CEO saying that they were ready for the executive committee role, to have women tell me that actually their mindset couldn't quite see it themselves. Executive coaching is a massive part of that. So we can really give you the confidence to actually go for those next steps, those much bigger roles. So generally, the whole ethos of WeQual is just, we're here for you, right? You can't pay to become a member. You have to earn your membership, and you're a member for life.
The whole reason that we're doing this is that we want to address gender balance at the top table. And so if by submitting and we mark your answers, you get through to the final. So you're one of the 24 women that then get interviewed by a CEO. You enter an exclusive club. So anybody who makes it through to the final, which is 24 women, becomes what we call a WeQual. Now a WeQual to us is like having an Oscar. Okay, it's a really big deal. And your profile will be raised as a result, both internally within your own organization, but also externally. So when you become a WeQual, you become a member. So we've got 120 to date. And once APAC goes through to those finals, we'll have 144. So the 24 new members. It's a very, very powerful network. With women from across the globe working for FTSE 100, Fortune 100 companies, the equivalent on the stock exchanges across APAC, and certainly across EMEA. So you will have a global network of very senior women. Some of them will be in the same sort of function that you are, and others will be in different functions, some within the same sectors, some outside your sectors. A very powerful network for you to be able to connect with. Now, we as WeQual, this is all free, right? Absolutely complimentary, but we help to connect you with these other women through what we call the WeQual Club Lounge. Now, Katie has probably already spoken about this, but the WeQual Club Lounge is an opportunity on a monthly basis to meet other women via an online process such as this. It's very personal. It's not formal at all. It allows you to build real relationships that are going to support you both in your professional life, but maybe even in your personal life too. And everything that we do as a company is to enable you to take the next step. Now, we recognize that not everybody wants to necessarily be promoted within their organization, but equally, we're going to ask you some challenging questions through this whole process. And when you become a WeQual, there's all manner of services that we provide that are designed to support you in your journey. In our experience, 70% of women at this level don't have a career plan. That's something that we want to change. We want to really challenge you about, okay, so you've achieved this position now. Maybe it's beyond your wildest dreams. Some women say, well, I got here by accident. And it's like, actually, personally, I don't believe anybody gets anywhere by accident. You find yourself at this place in your life. What is it you want to do with it? Where is it you want to go next? What does the next 5 years hold for you? How big is your ambition? And ambition to us is a very positive word. You know, many women get looked down on if they are ambitious, and we're saying no. Women need to be ambitious. It's good to be ambitious. It means you have drive. You want to change the world in some way. So we are here to support you in that process. And becoming a WeQual is a really key instrumental part to that. The very first awards that Katie ran, which was in the UK FTSE 100 companies, 50% of the winners now sit on the executive committee. That's really exciting for us. And if you watch, in fact, connect with us on LinkedIn, connect with the WeQual page, you will see almost weekly now we are posting what's called WeQual members on the move. And it's somebody who's either got a new role or somebody who's been promoted. And it just brings joy to our heart every single time. Now, we really want to help you, and as I say, not all of you necessarily want to get there, but we definitely want to help you. This is the whole purpose of this program, is to help you get onto the executive committee. We offer quite a depth in terms of services to support you in getting there. Now, yes, some of those you do have to pay for, but that's something that we can explain later. But we want to help you get to the executive committee. So we just recently had Lee, who's become the Chief Operating Officer at the BBC. Now, interestingly, the BBC isn't a listed company, but it's a great role for Lee. And there's a significant step up for her. Similarly, we've got Kate, who's become the CFO at Centrica, who owns British Gas in the UK. We have Hina, who's become the CEO for India in Diageo and now sits on the executive committee. These are big step ups, and we are here to support you in that process. Corporates wanting to work with us to help them address their own internal challenges around either promoting female talent or promoting diverse talent. And so what we've done is we've taken our hugely successful and now proven process where we find women like you, we invite you into the awards process, you go through this deeply reflective process, we identify those that are ready to take the step up, and then we provide the support, the very real support to help you to do that, take that step. Now working with corporates to help them do the same thing. So working with their talent programs, working in their HR teams, working with chief diversity officers, etc., and finding where the challenges are inside the organization and helping them to address that. So we've got a program called the WeQual Accelerator. It allows us to work with the executive committee to ensure that they are leading inclusively. It allows us to then have a very positive impact on the culture of the organization. And then separately, we work to identify diverse talent, whether it's gender or underrepresented talent. And then we have an advanced program which helps that talent to rise within the organization. We literally want to see more diverse talent, more female leaders at the top of organizations. And we're so excited to be doing that with these big companies.